Welcome to M Squared TechCast, a live show offering the latest news and interviews with the people driving business, technology, and politics in Michigan. Now, your hosts, Matt Roush and Mike Brennan.
It's Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And I'm stepping all over Mike Brennan. How about that? Well, I've been gone for a few weeks. So.
He's out of practice. So.
Yeah. But we're back with another segment of the M Squared TechCast here at podcastdetroit.com and wherever else you might get your fine podcasts.
Yeah, and the whole show is being devoted to the cannabis microbusiness. And so people go, why is a technology show focused on cannabis? Well, there's some technology involved, but more importantly, we are a show that also supports entrepreneurs.
Economic development.
And economic development.
Yep.
And gosh, this is one huge opportunity, particularly for micro businesses. And so we have with us Roberta King, who is the owner of Canna Communications. And she's going to explain to those micro businesses what some of these PR essentials should be.
All right. Well, great. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
I'm going to just give you some background. I started Canna Communication about 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in August, too. And I came from a background in communications, public relations, and wanted to do something toward the end of my career that wasn't...
End of your career?
I know, yeah.
Well, you're only like 29 or something, aren't
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I am.
All right.
I'm very close. Very close to 29.
And speaking of close, say close
yes,
to the microphone.
Close to the...
Good
So
segue, yes.
you're not even going to be able to tell I put lipstick on. That's weird. Okay. So end of the career, or last, 5 years, I thought I would be working, and I had a really great job. I was the vice president of a community foundation, and that was super fun in Grand Rapids, and just decided to abandon it all to go work in the cannabis industry. And so here I am.
So that begs the question, why? Well, why cannabis, I mean?
I'm one of those people that if I was going to do something new or different, it had to be really different. I knew that if I just opened a PR firm, I would end up working with a bunch of community foundations or nonprofits. And I thought, well, if I'm going to really make a break, I'm going to go big. And go big or go home or go broke. I'm not sure. So
I think all of the above in this business. You never know what's going to happen.
Talk to Mike about the joys of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
laughing one day, you're crying the next.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So
yeah, good. So let's get back to a lot of people have a lot of skills in a lot of areas, but you discover when you start a business that you don't know everything. And Matt and I are communications professionals. We both for 150 years between the two of us, I think.
Yeah.
Not really that much, but but I've been doing it for 40 years, and you've been probably close to 40.
Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah, so 80 years.
Yep.
So we kind of understand that, but the average person that's going to start a small business, I mean, they may understand social media somewhat. They may have a Facebook page or, or whatever, LinkedIn maybe, but what should they really know about this?
Well, I think if you're going to start your micro business, the first thing you need to do is think about your company name.
Yeah.
What are you going to call it? And does it make sense? And where is it out in the universe right now? Because a lot of company names, you might want to be, Greenville Cannabis Co. or something, and it's and there's already one of those out there. So
trademark search right away?
Trademark search or internet search. Even if you don't go trademarked, don't decide to call your business Oberon cannabis.
Yeah.
Because Bells will sue you.
Absolutely.
And so think about that and find, talk to your lawyer or just do your own due diligence to see what's up there. I mean, names like Google came up because there was nothing else left, so you can always make something up, if nothing else, and made up names work pretty well.
Okay. So how do you counter sort of the public perception of marijuana? It is still federally a Schedule I drug, although who knows how much longer that's going to be.
I think that's going to change. They're already having debates in Congress about that.
But what's the PR strategy for dealing with that issue?
Yeah, and I had to deal with that a lot when I left conventional business in order to do that. And I found really it's education. I spent probably the last year and a half after I left my job and as I started this business and started to get some clients. It's always about education. It's telling people what do they want to know and answering questions that just random questions people would ask me. Hey, how do I get a medical marijuana card? Well, you can go to the state website, but it's like, hey, you know what? I'll write a blog on that or I'll do a video on that. And so I did a lot of content creation based on what people wanted to know. Oh, every time I take marijuana, I feel funny and so it's like, all right, well, maybe it's too much, or maybe it's the wrong kind, or how about microdosing? So then it's some content on microdosing. So it's like education. So the first year that I was doing active writing, it was all education about marijuana and different aspects of marijuana. And now I'm doing a lot more writing about public relations in your marijuana business. And so I've been focusing on that. So, free things that you can find, how to develop content, ideas for moving things forward. And so, it's been interesting.
Interesting. So, what specifically would you tell people about next steps? So you get your name, you discover it looks pretty unique.
Yeah.
Now, you can do the trademark search, but I know I've talked to lawyers, and you're going to spend a couple $1,000 on that. So
get yourself a domain.
Yeah.
And find a good domain for your business. If it's out there, then that's when you really,
Yeah, that's the first thing I do is I don't tell anybody what I'm thinking.
Right.
I go out and capture the domain name first, and then I tell people about it.
Absolutely. And so you get your domain. I mean, I never thought that I would get Canna Communication just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like,
amazing.
well, that's pretty good, So you get your domain, and then I always tell people, all the social media stuff is great, but you don't own it. You have to own your space. So get a website, spend some money on a website, and preferably don't have your nephew, cousin, niece, or brother do it unless they are a professional web developer. You don't have to spend a ton of money.
You can do a WordPress site.
Yeah, get an easy WordPress site, and then the next thing is like, all right, well, I've got my domain, I've got my then you need your content. You got to put something up there, and that's where a lot of people turn to me because there's nothing I love more than writing website content. It's like, oh man, I just love, it's part of the education, public relations work that I do. And so then getting the content on there and then producing regular content, and that's really important too.
How regular is regular? Should a business post something every day in this space, do you think, or what?
God, I wish.
Talk about that a little bit.
I wish.
Yeah.
Ideally it would be something new every day, but you're going to run out of steam, and I try to do things on when I'm on a good roll once a week, a really good blog about some topic. In reality, it's every 2 weeks, and so, it's not easy. You guys, to talk about being in communication, how hard it is. It isn't so hard writing it. It's what's the idea and what do people want to know about. So it's looking at what people are talking about and then moving that content or those ideas into some content that's useful and usable for people.
Okay, what else should they know?
I think that, you need to get your social sites up, and you need to have those, but realize that at any given moment, Facebook can shut you down, Instagram can shut you down, Twitter not so much, and LinkedIn, which is all of a sudden sort of turning into this really nice haven for cannabis that weird old LinkedIn, it's like they have not been hostile toward cannabis, and so that's been a good place for places to go.
That's really interesting because LinkedIn has a lot of the same functionality as Facebook. I mean, you can, have a private conversation with someone. You can make public posts. You can post pictures. You can post video. You can do all that stuff on LinkedIn too.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're not unfriendly to cannabis, and so that is kind of interesting. One of the things that I think, too, is really important when you're starting your company is to have a what I like to call a discovery meeting. So sit down, talk with whoever it is that you are most close to, either your business partner or your spouse or whoever that might be, that you're involved with in that business, and talk about what do you visualize your business being? Who do you want to serve, and what kinds of things do you want people to think about you? And what are your values? And I know that sounds like just so conventional. But what are the things that you believe in? What are your values? What is your mission? Why do you exist in this cannabis space? And be able to articulate that, because then that will guide everything else that you do.
Okay. What else would you recommend?
I would also recommend. I have to check my list.
Check your list.
Check
There.
my list.
Check it twice.
Here's another thing. I think it's really important to have great biographies of the people in your company. So it's you that started it. I want to see, and people want to see. Don't you tell me if you don't do this when you go to look at a website that isn't Amazon or somebody trying to sell you something. Do you not go to look to see who's behind it?
Sure.
The about
Always.
section.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are those people? God, did they go to the same college I went to? Do I know them? Do we have any? Hey, that person runs. I run too. Hey, we both own wiener dogs. What are those things that are those
I
commonalities?
don't think you own a wiener dog, do you, Matt?
No pets at this point.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
well, I would highly recommend wiener dogs. They're quite wonderful.
Yeah, my in-laws had one for a while.
yeah,
it
a lot
was
of-
delightful.
Very, very.
Yep. They used to like rooting around in suitcases. Whenever
Yes.
you visited them, you couldn't leave your suitcase open in the
yes.
guest room. Yeah.
Or they'll go under your bed or into your socks. They're
Yeah.
strange creatures. So, but I think a really good biography. People want to know who they're doing business with, whether
Yeah.
you're selling cannabis or you're farming or what's your background and what are you like. I think those things are really important for people to have on their website. And I think part of the problem with cannabis is that we have been underground for so long, and every grower, caregiver, people who have owned provisioning centers have been very nervous about being out there where people can find them, and now that's changed. And so we're all law-abiding citizens now, or mostly.
Yeah, and then hopefully with the feds, I think it'll happen sometime 2020, 2021.
It's sort of gone the same way that that marriage equality did. It seemed to be that there was 40% for it and 60% against it, and then virtually overnight it seemed to flip the other way.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where pot is at now. It's
Absolutely.
about 2/3 say, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
I think there's a higher probability if a Democrat gets elected president that it would get legalized versus Trump. But I don't know. Maybe he
know.
can pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah, he might see that as a way to do better with the youth vote. You never know.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward and what it does. And then I think the very last thing that I want to say is, and we sort of almost always start with it, but it's so boring. But if you're going to start a business, you need a business plan, you need a communication plan, because otherwise you're chasing rabbits the whole time. You're just off in a different direction. Somebody knocks on the door. It's like, hey, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do that, And so having a comprehensive strategy is the best way for your micro business to be successful, to have that understanding of what you need to do and how you need to do it, and then moving that forward and executing that plan.
Okay, we got less than a minute left. Roberta, why don't you tell folks how they can reach out and talk to you?
Sure. You can find me at CannaCommunication.com. And
So that's singular communication.
That
and
is
Canna
correct.
is CANNA.
Communication.com. Yep.
Okay.
And hopefully I'm easy to find on the internet.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks very much, Roberta King, owner of Canna Communications. Where are you based out of?
Out of Muskegon. How about
Muskegon.
that?
Okay.
Whoa.
Awesome.
Yeah.
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 My dad and stepmom lived for years in Grand Haven, so I'm real familiar with it. So
That's great.
All right. Thank you very much, Roberta, from Canna Communications. We'll be right back in just a minute with another segment of the M Squared TechCast.
Thank you.